Howdy, folks. I'm Nim Jickles. This is the Ain't That a Bitch podcast. Welcome back to school. It is episode 28, so we're coming up on 29, which is, of course, another big milestone, I guess. Well, as per tradition, we're supposed to record live, so I don't know. I guess we might do that. So if that's the case, prepare yourselves for another Nim G live stream. I'm here's hoping that at least some parts of it go much better than last time. But, I mean, the chaotic, nonsense, absolute mess nature of it, I mean, if that stays, I guess. Apparently people liked it. It got a good amount of views. I thought it was a piece of shit, but hey, I like, what the fuck do I care? If it gets views, it gets views. So that being said, like I said, school has begun once again for Canadians. Back in it, people had the option to take online classes. Everyone I know is in school. I don't know a single person who's online. It's good to see everyone again. I've been going to school. I mentioned this. I've been going to school for a little bit already for the Link Leader program, for the training for that. Speaking of which, there's a video that should be out by the time this comes out. There should be a video that got released of some of the things that we did while we were there, and so I'm pretty happy with it. It's kind of, I think we're getting into a new direction for the Prolapse, live action series. Really not series, more like just a collection, right? I'm gonna be trying to film new material for that, maybe every week if possible, but I have a ton of archive shit that was recorded years ago on my old phone, even on before I had a phone, on my little Samsung digital camera. All that shit at some point will get edited and uploaded, and I kind of want it to be more in order, but by now that's already long been broken. So you know what, I should start dating them. Yeah, I should put dates. That's good. That was a good idea I had just live on the podcast here. Anyways, but that's besides the point. If you haven't watched that, please do. But school is back. Had my first day of classes. We went back 11th grade. They broke it up so that less crowded for the first week, I guess, just to get everyone back into the groove of things, back used to the new way that we're doing the social distancing and everything. Not really distant. It's more like, we're wearing masks, all day in school. A lot of the hallways have been made one way, which is a pain, and stuff in general like that. At lunch, when you eat lunch, you can't wander the hallways because you have to take your mask off to eat. So you got to go either outside to eat or stay in your classrooms, which in a lot of cases in class is not 6 feet apart from the people around you. So like, what the fuck's the point then if you're then just gonna take your mask off and eat as close to everyone else as you were when you had your mask on? But at the same time, who the fuck's gonna go outside and eat when it's 35 below in the winter? So it's a mess. It's nonsense. I want to be in school. I really don't want to do online. So I'm just hoping that the precautions we take are enough. We do them right. We take them seriously enough, and no one gets sick and school doesn't have to close down, because that would be the worst thing. School's shut down and we are forced to all go to online. I just don't want that. I want to get my education. Like, I want to get what I'm here for. Not even like I'm paying for it, but I want to get what I came to learn, so I can succeed in life. What I said already is that this generation, my generation, Generation Z, has so much going against it already. We have so many extra obstacles. I mean, the millennials did too, absolutely, but like, they got past them already, right? So they're there for the most part, and they either succeeded or they didn't, and a lot of them didn't, and that's sad for them. But my point is, Gen Z is getting there right now, right? We're graduating high school, going into college, or in college maybe. If you're already in first year university, like, you're fucked. You got so fucked. I already talked about that. The kids that didn't get their grade 12 high school graduation, None of that. Didn't get to see all their friends for the last time. And now they're going to university, still online, don't even get to go to university. Like, that's a huge, huge social life change, right? You know, I mean, more or less so depending on the person. You might not even go to college, you go to community college. That's all different, like, you know. But for a lot of people, you know, and even if not that extreme, but for a lot of people, you're moving away from your parents. You're moving out of your house. You're living on your own with, you know, or not on your own with strangers, relative strangers that you hardly know, that are your roommates now. You're doing everything with them, right? You're sharing rooms, a kitchen, you know, food, and bills. You're paying bills now, you know, and of course you're paying for, and you're going to your school on your own, doing your education. There's, you know, fucking mom's not going to wake you up anymore. I mean, yeah, I know we're supposed to get independent in high school, but I can assure you, you know, every once in a while a kid's going to sleep in, and, you know, mom's going to have to come wake them up, and dad's going to have to drive them to school because they, you know, they only have 15 minutes to get there. Not an option anymore. But guess what? Being independent and actually going to school is even less of an option now, because university online. Good news for me from that is I have a friend who's supposed to be going off to university. He's staying at home now because of online classes, and I'm legitimately, like, I get it's terrible. I feel really bad for him, but I hope that at least we can make it up to him slightly, you know, by having him come over and visit, I guess safely, that is. But yeah, I'm gonna miss it when he really does go off to university. We did a lot together, even though he's, you know, 2 years older than myself and 5 years older than my brother. But we had a lot of fun. You know, my brother and I, we got into Marvel movies with him. And so we watched every Marvel movie past Age of Ultron with him. And our minds have, you know, and we, all in all, I guess, I mean, we spent a lot of time together, but not that much. For me, I mean, we've known him for 6 or 7 years now. I've known so many people in my life, but I was younger than he. However, he's had friends, you know, from school that he's had probably all his time in school. He's had as far as I'm aware, I think he was born in Ontario and then has basically lived in Alberta, though, for probably all of his school life. So he's had the same friends and everything, but outside of school, you know, I have friends at school that I see and talk to way more often than I do, even though he lives so close. It's one of those things. It's like, that's kind of how it works with, I guess, best friends, you know, is that, or just certain friends, I guess, is he'll come over and, like, we hardly even talk, and we don't have really anything to talk about because we go to the same school. We don't have the same classes, you know, we don't have shared friends, you know, we're friends with each other, but I'm not friends with any of his friends, he's not friends with any of mine, but we still really enjoy spending time together. And it's just, we have so many, and then it'll be like, you know, one little inside joke shared between us, and it's the funniest thing that happens that week, because we have so many inside jokes, we have so many things that we just understand about one another that it doesn't make any sense to anyone else. And that's the thing. That's a very special thing in friendship. So I will miss that when he's gone. But I guess we have at least a few months extra with him. I don't know, maybe the whole year. Likely the whole year. Who knows what's going to happen. And you know what? Who cares? I don't care as long as I get to go to school. And it's entirely possible I won't. But, like, I will do whatever they tell me. I'll do the masks. I'll do everything. You know, whatever my beliefs may be. I'll listen to all the instructions. Just let me have my school. That's it. So that being said, did go our first day of school. So they broke it up over the course of 3 days. So grade 10s went Wednesday. That was their first day back. I went to school that day because I'm in the link leader thing. So I kind of introduced, you know, we all, groups of, I was in a group of 5. It was like some were groups of 5, some were groups of 4 link leaders. And each one of them got a class, a homeroom class, you know, it's called, which homeroom really doesn't mean anything. Like, those are not people you're going to be seeing very often. Your homeroom meets once every other week, and it's fairly important because they do give you forms and things that are important to have, inform you about events happening in and around the school. But yeah, it's not. It's a weird thing because you spend the whole first day of school in 10th grade like doing icebreakers and stuff, getting to know the names of the people in your homeroom, and you never see them again. I don't know any of those people hardly that are in my homeroom, but whatever. That's just the way it works. And so the link leaders are pretty much in charge of helping them do that, while the teachers, play a little role. We show them to the classroom, and get them do, like I said, icebreakers, get them to know each other's names. We let them tour the school, and then the principal and assistant principal went and gave them their talk about, this is high school, welcome. Anyways, I thought it went surprisingly well for what I was expecting. The kids were actually pretty good. I liked them. None of them tried to be funnier than me, which I really appreciated. It's a funny thing to see. It really is weird to be seeing the kids just come into high school. I guess the same or similar high school, because high school is a big jump, right? But I guess you would get a similar feeling seeing kids come into junior high school. But see, for me, I didn't have that because I went to a Louis Riel, which is junior high school and elementary school combined. So kids going into junior high are not going to a different school. It's a little bit of a leap because it's like, hey, I'm a middle school student now. But realistically, you're going to the exact same school you've been going to for, if you were there for the whole time, it's 7 years, kindergarten to 6th grade. And then this is just another year. Same people, same friends, everything. It's same, if we're going to school one way, you're still going, that's a big thing, right? It's like changing schools. I always have to remind myself that changing schools is kind of a big deal for people, because for me, it's like, well, fuck yeah, that's every other year for me. I just change schools all the time. So I didn't have a big thing, going to a high school that was new. But yeah, so for other people, I mean, anyways, it's still a thing. It's a process, right? But it's not, mentally for me, it's not a huge leap. But it is, of course, practically still a thing of like, got to sort it out. How am I gonna? And now I'm taking, when you're in high school, it's like, oh, now you're taking transit on your own. But again, going from elementary school to junior high school, where I was, it was like, if you were biking there in 6th grade, you're biking there in 7th grade. If your parents drove you in 6th grade, your parents are going to drive you in 7th grade. So I never got that experience. I was the new kid in 7th grade, right? So I actually did go, and I was like, new school, and it's junior high school, right? It's like, and then everyone else was, had known their friends. And then I was in 8th grade, and I looked, and I saw the kids from 6th grade coming into 7th, and it was like, same school, same friends. They even, and because of, the conservative Alberta government gave no money to the schools before they elected NDP, which of course, the NDP, everyone hates them, they suck so bad. Well, guess what? Before they elected NDP, there was a grade 5-6 split because schools couldn't afford to have schools couldn't afford to give a class to every student or to every grade, right? So they had one classroom with grade 5s and grade 6s together because the schools didn't have a budget that allowed them to give every grade their own class. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ. Just think about that for a moment. It's like, oh yeah, it's just small cuts to education, right? Even if you don't believe that education is the single most important thing that a government can spend money on, which it is, but even if you don't believe in that, just look at what that means, I mean, it's not like, school's not going to have, new dodgeballs this year, not going to have new gym equipment, or sorry, can't afford to have the janitor clean, every week. It's going to be every other week. The classrooms get cleaned, so it'll be a little dirtier, right? Oh, can't afford to replace the lights on the stage. Oh, can't afford to put on the production this year. Can't afford to have sports teams. No, it's like we just straight up can't afford a class. An entire grade gets shafted because we don't have the money. That's right. You're getting taught the same thing. 2 years of students are getting taught the same thing. So either one class is getting taught stuff they don't understand yet, or the other is getting taught it that they just learned last year. Holy fucking Christ. And we are like okay with that. God, yeah, and they say the NDP was terrible. Fuck. I mean, they may not have accomplished anything, but Jesus Christ. At least they unaccomplished that. Same thing would happen in my school. Same exact thing at my elementary school. If they hadn't elected NDP, my 6th grade class would have been shoved together with the 5th grade class. I would have been learning half of the same curriculum a second time. God damn. That's besides the point. We're already past that. Of course, we're back. We put ourselves right back in the same exact goddamn hole with Kenny, but whatever. Believe it or not, we haven't. I mean, hey, schools have survived so far. Not for long if he has anything to say about it. Anyways, that's not the point. So a lot of kids, they already knew so a lot of kids going in 7th grade actually even knew kids in 8th grade. So it was like, and then they knew kids in 6th grade. So it was like, well, fuck, I mean, this isn't anything new. It's just, it's just another year for them. So I didn't get to look back at the younger kids and be like, I'm older than them. I know. Most of them had been at the school longer than me. So they actually, if anything, they were more adjusted to being at the school than I was in 8th grade. So this was a kind of interesting experience for me. I got to look back as an 11th grade student. I looked back at the 10s, and you see the ones, like, there's always going to be kids who are younger than me, but first of all, taller. There's kids, younger than me that are definitely taller than me. I'm not the tallest guy. And cooler than me, and like who know more than me, and that's something I'm used to. I'm not surprised by that, and that's fine. But it is pretty cool to look and see these kids, and it's like, look at these. I remember these gaggles of grade 10 guys and gals, all in their little cliques, forming their groups. And they think they're so cool. You got these guys, the athletic kids, and they're all talking about, the football team. And they got their fucking, hair and their outfits and all their styles. And then you got the girls with all their makeup. God, you got some girls with like the mountains of makeup all over their face, and you got the kids vaping and smoking weed, and you got all that, right? All those kinds of people. And when you're in 10th grade, you look at them and it's like, they may be the same age as me, but boy, they're, it's not like I looked up to them or anything or was jealous of that, but even if I disagree with their lifestyle choices, I can't pretend like they don't clearly have a place where they belong, and they definitely seem to know what they're doing with themselves. Now I get to look back and I see them and it's like, oh yeah, they're acting all cool, and they definitely hold themselves in a manner that is probably more confident than I hold myself, even as I'm conscious of that as the grade 11 who goes, still walking through the hallways, like looking around back and forth, like, is this my classroom? No matter how long I'm out of school, I'm always gonna, I get lost, get turned around. One of the things, though, I think one of the great things that you realize in life is that, one of the great things that you realize as you grow up and get older, is that nobody fucking knows other than you how badly you fuck up. All the shit that we're embarrassed about, when you are, like I was just saying, like when you're going to your classroom and you realize you took a wrong turn, so then you got a fucking 180 in the middle of the hallway and turn back and you're like, oh fuck, everyone's looking at, and you just think like, oh god, I just passed these people in the hallway and now they're seeing me go back the exact same way like a fucking retard that I am. And yeah, one of the most satisfying, comforting things to learn as I get older is that, holy shit, I'm the only one who noticed or gave a shit about that. I'm the only person who cares about how stupid I am. I don't need to be embarrassed. I'm still embarrassed, but like when I go home on the inside, I can be like, you know what? I don't think anyone really noticed. It's just me. It's just in my head, and it probably is. So that's a really nice thing to be able to notice. But my point was that I still have that, and I'm sure everyone does from time to time, right? And you always think it's just you. That's why I brought that up, right? You always think it's just me. Everyone else knows where they're supposed to be. And then now I'm in 11th grade. I'm talking to the other link leaders. I'm like, man, these poor grade 10s. Like, and I was in there when I remember when we had the thing. The first thing you got to do is you all gather. We were in the gym, and they had to be in the field so they could distance. And then the link leaders, which is us now, go out and hold the signs with the names of their homeroom teacher. And then the teacher goes, or the principal goes like, all right, now go find your homeroom or whatever. And like, I don't even fucking remember what my homeroom teacher's name is, right? When I'm in grade 10, they give me all this shit for the first time. Like, it's a timetable. I never had a timetable before. I never had to go find my classes. I mean, in junior high, you have to go to the teachers, right? The teachers don't just come to you anymore, which is what they used to do. But it was like, your whole class goes to the same. It was really like, I mean, that's why it's junior high. It's a stepping off point from elementary to high school. It's which is why I prefer the term middle school, to be honest. But yeah, it's preparing you, right? So it's in the middle, and it is still more like elementary school in that your whole class is going to the same, except for options, right? And you have 2 options in the day, or like 1 option a day, right? 2 in the week. So it's not the same thing. They give you a timetable, and you're like, I gotta find these room numbers. What are these? And then you gotta find the teacher's name, and then they give me one thing that's like my homeroom, and then you gotta figure out the schedule, like the days, because there's Monday, Wednesday at our schools. They have all these ways of doing things, right? So at Henry Wisewood, it's your schedule has 4 periods, and on Mondays and Wednesdays, you go from period 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, though, you go from period 2 to 1, and then 4 to 3, and it's like you got to figure all that out. And anyways, yeah. When I got to that point, I don't even think I remembered what my homeroom teacher's name was. I was just wandering around the gym. I saw everyone going into their groups, and you see everyone who's like, they're in groups, they're making circles around the link leaders, and like they found their teachers and they know exactly what they're supposed to be. I'm like, I'm the fucking idiot. I'm the only person who has no clue what I'm doing here. Where's my friends? I can't see all my classmates. Oh wait, he's in a different homeroom than me. Ah shit, what am I gonna do? I'm all alone. And then now in 11th grade, you go back and I was just saying to one of the other link leaders, man, I feel bad for these kids. When I was in grade 10, I had absolutely no idea where I was supposed to be. And they're like, yeah, no, me neither. I was like, holy shit. Well, there you go. And that's another nice thing to realize when you get older is like,
there's a big ass fucking spider outside, and it's really scary. Anyways, I'm here.
William's scared of a spider again.
Do you want to see it? It's fucking scary.
William,
it's in like a pit too. It's like a.
Is this like the same time?
It's in there. It's so big.
Okay. That's all right. That's a good deal scarier than the other spider. What's funny is, okay, William got spooked by a spider in my basement dungeon once before, and this is in the exact same. Spider. Is it the same spider? It wasn't scary before. I guess okay. Well, it's grown. Well, it's grown. Okay, that's.
It's also scarier because there was like 10 other spiders there before. Like,
well, that's.
Before you came. It was like a fucking colony. It's scary.
You saw a bunch of spiders in that one spot? Well, that's completely different than one big spider.
Yeah, but it's still a big spider. It was scarier when I was outside of the thing because it was very cool too. It backed into the web.
Wow. So there's a spider that's been making a pretty successful web in the like, I don't know what you call it, the crook bottom, like the hinge side bottom.
It's waiting for its prey.
Underneath a door. Like okay, Jesus Christ. Underneath the door frame, underneath the door, oh my fucking god. Under the door on the hinge side of the door to the like boiler room. Is that what that is? Do we have a boiler room in normal houses? Well, what's your job here? Anyways, William's here. He was busy. He was off doing his own thing. So I was actually doing this on my own up until this point. Anyways, we got broadcast team back. So that spider's been hanging out there for a while, and William was scared of it the first time he saw it, and I remember I went and checked on it. It wasn't shit. I just went and looked at it now, and yeah, no, I kind of see what he's saying. It's like 3 times larger than it was before, and darker. It's pretty cool, yeah. It's like, I guess, it's what I would call a cobweb, right? Because I don't know if I'm right about this, but when I think of cobweb, I think of the webs that like you see in the old abandoned houses, and not just, not the normal like spider webs, like the circles around the lines and shit. I think of cobwebs like that mesh of just like that mound of webby substance. I don't know, but anyways, that's what that is under the door. So it's pretty interesting. It's not like, they're definitely not going to be catching just flying insects, I can tell you that, because it's on the ground. So I don't know what it is. It might be more like a nest. They might not even really trap things in the web. I think it might be like, I think what William's kind of saying, kind of like a trapdoor spider, but without the trapdoor, where it just springs out at stuff passing by and then webs it up and then sticks it in its web. I don't know, maybe. Anyways, what was I saying? About school. So yeah, no one knew what the fuck they were doing in 10th grade, and that's another comforting thing to kind of realize once you get older. So I got to I got to see these grade 10s now, and of course, from a different perspective, I got to see them. They still have all their ways of, especially like I said, the ones that group up, the ones that form cliques and stuff. They act like they know where they belong, and they have their friends from their old school, and you see that. But then you get to points like when they need to use the bathroom. This was a huge thing. It was like humanizing these kids for me. And I actually really enjoyed it because, I like kids, and I really don't even consider them, I say it for fun sometimes, but they're 1 year younger than us, all right? Like, I'm friends with a guy 2 years older than me. It's not like but I do like kids as well. I like younger kids. I enjoy like volunteering for that kind of stuff. And I'm very empathetic, so I can put myself in the heads of people pretty easily. So this was honestly a fun experience for me. It was kind of humanizing and connecting with these newcomers. So yeah, it's simple things like that. Like when you're in the middle of actually it was the middle of the tour, right? So we were when some kids had gone to the bathroom while we were doing some activities, and other link leaders took care of that. And then we were in line. We actually finished the tour. We were in line waiting to get into the courtyard, which is indoors, contrary to every time I think of courtyard, I think it's out front, but that's not right. The courtyard is inside the building, and it's this thing they created. It's in the middle. It is a courtyard. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's the right name for it. But it's this thing that they were working on for since before I was even at the school until now. And I told the grade 10s, like, you lucky sons of bitches, you get this courtyard ready to go. It's the coolest thing. But at the same time, not so lucky, because now there's, there's a population cap for it. You can't have that many people in there because not safe to this. And they blocked off a lot of the most comfortable seats. It was a nice place. I mean, it still is, but they had booths that you could sit in like at a restaurant. Not anymore. They still have nice couches though, and they got the nice swivelly chairs and all those tables and things. But yeah, no more booths, which is a shame. Anyways, so we're waiting to get in because the last class hadn't finished. I don't know why they were taking so long. And then just one kid just came up to me and, asked if he could use the bathroom. And that's it. I know that sounds so simple, but that's huge. Nobody asks you if they can go to the bathroom. I remember feeling so incredibly in power there. The best thing would have been, and this is something, because of course the interaction was a fraction of a second. He went, "Hey, can I use the bathroom?" And I go, "Yeah, sure, of course." And he goes, but it really puts in perspective for you how being a parent or a teacher or any kind of, guardian or person in power, person of authority, first of all, they got to be on their toes all the time, and they're thinking about shit all the time. Like I said earlier, we had an example earlier when we were doing activities, another kid asked to use the bathroom, right? And the teacher, and one of the kids was kind of doing the thing. They're like, "Yeah, you can," and then the teacher came up and was like, "Oh yeah, now because of COVID, you have to sign out to use the bathroom," right? Before there were some teachers that already did that, it was their own personal choice, but now it's required. In every class, the students have to check out if they're going to the bathroom or going to do anything, leaving the class, so you know where they were. And it's a precaution of things like, if a kid who at 2 weeks later you find out is sick with coronavirus, then you can be like, was anyone else in that bathroom at the same time as this kid? Oh yeah, this guy went to the bathroom at 2:30, same time as him, so he's in danger. Anyway, so he explained that. It's like, yeah, no, you got to sign out. And then another kid, right as that person was leaving, was like, "Oh, I need to use the bathroom." And you're like, okay, so no more than 2 out. And because the kids don't know where the bathroom is, one of the link leaders had to accompany them to the bathroom. So that was the 2 already, right? So he couldn't go. So he was like, once they're done, you can go. And this is a super standard thing, right? Like I said, I've been in classrooms already where they have to do a sign out thing, or they have a limit of how many kids can go out to the bathroom. So that's nothing new. But it's such a different perspective when you are the person who's giving the permission. It's crazy. You think it's just, and it is fun. It feels awesome to have the power to be like, "No, you cannot use the bathroom," which I would never do. But it is amazing to have that ability. And it's amazing to have the power to just simply go, "Yes, you can use the bathroom." It's kind of like it's like if you watch Schindler's List, when he explains when Liam Neeson explains to the Nazi guy, he's like, the real power is in forgiveness. And the joke is he's trying to convince the guy to stop just randomly killing Jews, because he was saying, like, is that really what gives us power over the Jews? Like, any man can hold a gun and threaten another man with their life. A man with a gun, holding a gun to an unarmed man, like, what kind of power is that, right? The gun is where all the power is. You can shoot, anyone can be shot, but real power is when you have the opportunity to kill someone and you don't, and you pardon them. And so that was him trying to convince him. And he was talking about, like, how the kings of old, the kings in medieval times, they wouldn't just kill a man for doing something wrong. The real show of their power, the real reason you knew the king had power, was because they had the power to give them life. They had the power to say, I pardon you, and not kill them, right? And it was kind of a joke, right? Because obviously not killing someone is not going a way to threaten them or keep them in line, as opposed to killing someone. And so the Nazi guy, he even tried it a couple times, right? Well, he tried it once. Okay, he went, I pardon you. And this kid fucked up, this Jewish kid that he was making clean his bathtub or whatever. He fucked it up, so it was like, he was gonna, like, beat him, and he was like, I pardon you. And then, like, the kid was running away. He was like, couldn't believe his luck. And then the guy got out his gun and shot him from, up in his house. He shot him while the kid was just going off because he just couldn't stand it. And that makes sense. That obviously Schindler's List is not, that was kind of a funny scene, but obviously Schindler's List is not really a comedy, right? It's definitely not. It's not exactly what you'd call slapstick. So realistically, and it's not a Hollywood movie. So realistically, no, you can't. If we could have just told the Nazis the real power is in forgiving the Jews, and then they just wouldn't kill any Jews, that wouldn't have worked out that way. That said, there is actually some truth. This is an enormous tangent, but there is some truth to what Schindler said, in that, when you have the ability to take something away from someone and then choose not to, it's like you're giving them that thing, which is actually way more impressive, right? It's kind of a double think, George Orwell 1984 backwards logic kind of thing, where you got to go, like, anyone could take, it's like, you go, like, anyone could take away this man's whatever, or his life in this case, right? Anyone could take away a man's life, which is true. Almost all of us have the physical capacity to kill another man. It's like, but no one can play God, right? Only God has the ability to give life. So you couldn't give a man their life if they were dead. You couldn't give a dead person life. But if you have the ability to kill someone, and then you choose not to, it's like you're giving them life. You can't actually give them life, but it's like it's weird, it's kind of backwards, but I think there is merit to it, because I don't know. Like I said, it's a backwards kind of backwards sensibility, whatever. Take what you know what, take it or leave it. I'm just putting that out there, make what you will. But I get a little bit, man, I know I'm analogizing myself to a Nazi commander or whatever, or like a Nazi camp supervisor, by saying that I have the power to tell this person that they can't use the bathroom and fuck up their bladder, but then instead I choose to go, yes, you can use the bathroom. Whatever, man. Again, make of it what you will. But that's just what I thought of. So it is great. It's super fun having that power, don't get me wrong. But man, one of the hardest things about growing up, I know I'm talking a lot about things that happen when you grow up, but that's kind of sign of the times, right? No, but yeah, one of the most difficult things to accept when you grow up is that the adults around you are usually right. And I've been an advocate for this for a long time. I've been saying to people for forever, like, certain things. Don't make fun of the teachers, or don't write off your teachers as being just, so that's just a teacher thing to say. When they say things like, be the best you that you can be, try the hardest that you can, make your own success, do the schoolwork, it's for your own good, and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of that does get written off as like teacher nonsense. That's just what they're supposed to tell you. And then I've for years been telling people, actually, I hate to say it, but they're 100% right. But then there's always new stuff. There's always more stuff. So one of the things that I was aware, and of course I knew, I guess in my heart of hearts, like, yeah, the adults are probably right, but on the outside, you never want to say that. You never want to admit it. When, especially when it's directed at you, when a parent goes, you think it's fun, being in charge of everything, being responsible, you wouldn't want to do this. And of course you think, oh man, if I had the power, it'd be so easy. I'm really working my way around this long ways, and it's the payoff is not great. It's just a very basic, but I'm just kind of giving you my thought process, because that's how it worked out in my head, of like applying this tiny little example of using the bathroom to the larger scale of like, that's every single moment of a teacher's life, which definitely there is merit to that, right? You have to think about it a little abstractly, but if something as simple as allowing a kid to use the bathroom, is something that takes a mental effort to pay attention to and get right, what about the big decisions they gotta make, So maybe we need to cut our people of authority a little bit of slack, right? Because they do work hard for their jobs. It's just something to think about. Anyways, but what I was saying was I didn't even finish the bathrooms thing, the second bathroom thing, before I get back to the first one. Anyways, it was, he let this first kid go to the bathroom, and then the second kid couldn't, because it was only to the bathroom. And so he said, once the other person gets back, you can go, right? And again, I'm sure this happened to all of you in school at one point or another, right? You might have been the kid trying to go to the bathroom, you might have been the kid who got to go to the bathroom, or you might have just been a kid in the class, right? And it's nothing weird. The teacher says you can go to the bathroom, and the other kid comes back, and you know what? Half the time, you've already forgotten by that point that you need to use the bathroom, and that you asked to use the bathroom. And then the teacher just goes, they're back, you can go to the bathroom now. And you're like, oh yeah, and then you go, right? And that just doesn't seem like anything, right? Because that's the teacher's job. You said that you were going to go to the bathroom, and they came, and you forgot to go to the bathroom, and they told you can go to the bathroom, so you went to the bathroom. It's going to the bathroom. It's not rocket science. But now that I'm there, and it's like, I could have been the one to do that, but I didn't, because I forgot. And that's when you realize, like, that's why they're the teacher and I'm only a link leader. Because the kid came back. From the bathroom, right? The girl came back from the bathroom, and the guy who had asked to go, he just stayed. He had completely forgotten. He was just sitting in his seat, and we were, continuing with our activities, trying to keep people engaged. And oh my god, I'll get to that in another bit. But and then the teacher wasn't involved in the activities, but he was doing his own things, right? He was doing his he was preparing for his classes, and probably sending emails to other teachers or whatever, staff members. So not to discredit him or anything, he was of course busy in his own way, and all the link leaders are busy in their own way. But then after a few moments, he looks up and he goes like, you can go. Or like, you're up. I think that's what he said. He's like, you're up. You know what I mean? And the kid was like, what? Because he clearly did not know what he meant. And, I still don't actually know if the teacher really thought that kid was supposed to know what he meant. But, I mean, it would have been perfectly reasonable either way. It would make total sense for the teacher to be like, yeah, you're the one who asked to go to the bathroom. You can go to the bathroom now. You know what I'm talking about. But at the same time, not a single other person in the room knew what he was talking about, so it really would have made sense either way. But that's why it's just such a thing for my brain to see from this perspective. That's like, because he said, like, you're up, you go, you know what I'm talking about. The kid did not know what he was talking about, and I was like, I don't know what he's talking about. Does he want him to do, like, come up and do a thing for the activity? Like, is he starting a new activity that I don't know about? And he's like, you asked to go to the bathroom, right? And he's like, oh yeah. And he goes, and I'm like, holy shit, he sure did. As if I was a student there. And I wasn't. Again, if I had been a student, that would have just felt totally normal. Like, oh yeah, that kid was gonna go to the bathroom. I totally forgot about that. Dumbass, he forgot he needed to go to the bathroom. But now I'm not on the same level as the kid who needed to go to the bathroom and forgot. I'm on the same level as the teacher who heard that the kid needed to go to the bathroom and remembered. So you see the difference there, right? If I'm in the class with the kid, if I'm classmates with a kid who asks to go to the bathroom and then forgets, and I forgot that he asked to go to the bathroom, we've done the exact same thing, right? He needed to go to the bathroom. he knew he needed to use the bathroom and then forgot, right? But then now I'm up with the teacher. It would be like if I was I guess whatever, teaching assistant, TA or something, and the kid asked the both of us. I mean, he didn't actually ask me to use the bathroom, but I heard it, right? So it was, maybe it was more in the teacher's mind because he asked him directly, but I heard it. I was fully aware of it, right? So the kid asks the both of us if you can use the bathroom, and we say, wait until the other kid is back, then you can go. And then the kid comes back, and then I'm just, staring blankly into space, and the teacher goes, you can do that, and he remembers, and I forgot. So that's why it's a different situation, right? Like, again, even though the age difference, age-wise, I'm way closer to the 10th grader, right? Because we're only 1 year apart, and both of us are, several, probably decades younger than the teacher. So both of us forgetting puts us on the same footing. But role-wise, I was closer to being the teacher there than the student, And I'm not going to pretend like I'm not saying I failed my duties as a link leader just because I forgot one kid needed to use the bathroom. But it just makes you think, if I had to do this every single day as a teacher who doesn't have those link leaders there all the time, right? It's just them alone. And if I were to go up and, be a teacher for a day and just on my own, I would 100% forget that this kid wanted to use the bathroom. And if he forgot he wanted to use the bathroom, like, we're going to have a fucking problem at some point on our hands. Like, I don't think this kid is like this in a Sims character and he's just going to piss his pants if I don't tell him he can use the bathroom. He's probably going to remember at some point when his bladder gets full. But if I forget the bathroom kid, and then I forget what I'm teaching about, and then there's another bathroom kid, like, I forget two kids who want to use the bathroom. One kid needs to get a drink of water. The other kid needs to go get something from his backpack, and, I need to get the whiteboard going. I need to get the smartboard going. I need to get the projector going. Like, if I forget, 4 out of 5 things, I'm going to have a fucking crisis on my hands. So it does make me think. It really does. Because it was such a small, simple thing, but it could have been anything, right? It could have been anything similar to that, and I would have forgotten it, and that teacher would have remembered it. And that's because that's his job, and it's not mine. Thank goodness. So then I had a second brush with a very similar situation. Again, different kid needed to use the bathroom, right? And this time he did ask me. Okay, so this time the responsibility goes fully on me, right? So the kid directly asked me if he used the bathroom. Again, I was like, immediately, I was like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. And I kind of said it in a weird way because, again, whoever asks you that question, right? Sometimes if you have guests to your house, they'll ask, where's the bathroom? And you tell them, or what's the Wi-Fi password? And that also probably, I don't know if you guys agree, but it gives for me a little bit of that same feeling of like, I'm the host, I'm the boss here, right? Because there's a point where you're a really little kid and you have play dates with your friends, right? And if they come over to your house and they ask, what's the Wi-Fi password? You don't fucking know what the Wi-Fi password is. You have a parent put it in or something. But you get to an older point where you actually know these things and you can tell them, and it actually feels nice. It's like, this is my castle. You listen to me. You want to use the bathroom? I could tell you the wrong location and you'd piss your pants. You just piss yourself everywhere because of me. It's the power that I have. Feels pretty great, right? Don't know why I would do that, pissing on my floor. But you have that ability, and that gives you that kind of feeling. But now it's like, this was, I don't know. It's in some ways weirder than just the fact that this kid, that I had this experience. It's almost weirder that now I'm thinking about the experience, and it's weird how unusual, how it's almost weirder that this is the first time this has ever happened than the actual experience itself, right? Because think about it, it probably is the first time someone's ever asked me if they could use the bathroom. To kids who like have been volunteering since they were in 5th grade and like have been, leading Project Little Kids, this probably sounds retarded, and like, fuck yeah, of course, that's when you're dealing with kids, or when you're, leading any project or leading any group activity, yeah, other people are going to ask you if they can use the bathroom. That's not weird. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm not huge into that stuff. And like I said, I do actually do volunteering, I have done it once. And so then I actually was wrong just there completely. But so yeah, I would have been asked by little kids if they could use the bathroom, but they're real little. Like I said, these kids are 1 year older than me. Some of them are taller than me. This kid wasn't, but he very well could have been. And he comes up to me, and again, for all the shows of bravado or, all the confidence they show around their friends, at the end of the day, this is a new place. They have no idea what's going on, right? So, like, he comes up to me, he asks me if he can use the bathroom. And my immediate instinct is, yeah, sure, whatever. But it's just weird to think that that's not a response that I've ever given, right? I mean, that's a question that has been asked countless times, millions of times, right? I've asked so many people if I can use the bathroom, and he has certainly asked so many people if he can use the bathroom. But that is the first time I've ever told someone who's, would be considered by adults to be the same age as me, given them permission to use the bathroom. So it's like there's no precedent for it, right? What am I supposed to? There's no predetermined etiquette that I'm aware of. How am I supposed to respond to that? It's things like these that people might call social anxiety. It might be one word for it, where you are overthinking the correct way to give someone permission to use the bathroom. But I don't know. For me, I don't get anxious about it. I just find it really interesting. More interesting than I should, I'm sure, but I definitely, you might call it social anxiety, social hyper-awareness, maybe, hyper-self-awareness. I'm very self-aware. But it's just these things are interesting to me. Weird little nothing things, nothing nonsense little interactions with individual people fascinate me all the time. So I love having them. But yeah, so I told him he could use the bathroom, and he walked off, and I was like, did I say that right? Like, should I have? Because I said it dismissively almost, and I didn't feel bad, but I felt like he was asking me permission for something, and I just said it like, yeah, of course you can. I mean, I didn't say it aggressively like that, but the general wording that I used implied like, yeah, of course you can. Like, why would you not be able to? But that's because I'm so used to being on the same level, right? Like, if one of my classmates asked me, can I use the bathroom? I'm like, why the fuck would you not be able to use the bathroom? But this kid, I very well might have said no. Again, like I said, that's this thing that came into my head immediately afterwards. I didn't think of it when he asked me, but afterwards I was like, I could have told him no. And funniness aside, the novelty of that aside from how funny it would be to tell a kid, no, you can't use the bathroom, and make him hold it in. But in all seriousness, again, you look at it from their perspective, that's like when I very well could have asked the same question to a link leader. To me, it's like, the link leader, they might as well be the teacher. And then when I'm top down, I'm looking down, and I was like, I'm only 1 year older than you, kid. Why asking me? But so I would ask them if I could use the bathroom, and they would have told me yes or no. And when I asked them that, like, why would I ask that question, right? So what I'm getting at is, like, the way I said it to this kid was like, yeah, why would you need to ask me if you can use the bathroom? Why would I tell you you can't, right? But if I was in that kid's shoes, and I need to use the bathroom in that situation, and I didn't see the teacher around, I would have 100% asked one of the link leaders if I could use the bathroom. Why would I ask it? Because there's a very real possibility in my mind that they might have said no. We don't know, right? Like, maybe we all need to stay in line, and then that's when it kind of hits me while I'm standing there. It's like, wait, what if I was supposed to say no? Like, what if? Because I don't know why I'm there. I don't know what I'm doing. Like I said, the group before us has taken way too long to finish their thing. You can't. These things don't go smoothly, right? When you're a kid, again, when you're the student, or when you're, it's not always school, but when you're the attendee of things like that, you're always like, how could they be so disorganized? This is stupid. And then you're the person who's, like, I'm not the person who organized this, but I'm the person who's responsible for, it's like, don't shoot the messenger, right? So I'm right there with the kids. I'm like, yeah, man, I don't know why this is such a mess, but I can't say that because I'm putting them in the mess. And I honestly did apologize, like, in good fun, to some of the kids. I was just like, sorry guys, this is a real shitty first day, I know. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's like, I'm the one, I'm not responsible for it, but I'm the one there with it. I'm doing it. I'm putting them through this gauntlet. So I'm not questioning it, right? amongst each other with the other link leaders, we would be like, oh gosh, how is this taking so long? But you're never going to ask the student, right? You're not going to go and ask like one of the 10th graders, like, man, how come this is taking so long, Because then, and so then you kind of don't question yourself about it, Maybe some people did. Again, I asked the other link leaders, we joke about it, like, how is this? But then you never ask yourself, man, what's going on here? Is there a problem? Because because again, it's like questioning yourself. You might ask the teachers what were they thinking, or they made some mistakes, but you're not going to be like, I don't really know how to describe it, but you don't question it to a certain extent when you're there and you're part of that process, when you're part of any, group activity process that you're technically in charge of, or whatever, leading. So I wasn't asking those questions. I wasn't asking myself those questions. I wasn't asking the teachers those questions. But there's a very real possibility that, because we're stuck in this hallway longer than we were supposed to be, right? Or it's really the foyer. We were supposed to be in that room in the courtyard by now, but instead we're standing in the foyer, and we're all supposed to be part of a group. And think about it. That's when you're with a teacher. Lots of times when you're with a teacher and you're going, from one class to another, if you think about elementary school or junior high, when you would travel as a class, your teacher would take you somewhere. Lots of times they would say, no, you can't split off. Like you're just waiting to get into a room. The teacher will probably say like, no, you can't use the bathroom right now. We're waiting to get into a classroom, right? Who's ever thought of that, right? You're waiting to get into a classroom and you need to use the bathroom. Never happens. So there's all these things that I don't have any precedence for, like I've said before. Don't have any precedence, and I just straight up didn't think about them, didn't consider it at the time. But you know what? Maybe he wasn't supposed to use the bathroom, and maybe I wasn't supposed to say yes. I think that it's absolutely fine that I let the kid use the bathroom, but there's a very real possibility that, if a couple circumstances had been different, he shouldn't have used the bathroom, and I probably still would have said yes, even if those circumstances had been changed. I can't believe I spent an hour talking about telling a kid that he could go to the bathroom, but I'm not done yet. So, immediately after you left, I started kind of thinking about that. Not as in-depth as I'm going into it now. It's just kind of me going like, does that make sense what I just said? I don't know. I'm a teacher now. That's weird. And then we got let back, and I didn't give it another thought, right? I was like, he's allowing him to use the bathroom, he can take care of himself, great. This is high school, like, you're supposed to be independent. But this kid, this is his first time ever being in the high school, right? His class was standing in the middle of the hallway, a class of people he probably doesn't know, right? Because I know I was with one person I knew in my homeroom, and it was not a kid I had ever been in class with. It was someone who went to my school, was in my grade, but he was in like the science program, and I never really talked to him. I just knew he existed. We knew each other's names. That was it. So he probably didn't really know anyone, or maybe one or two people who were in the homeroom with him. And he didn't know the school at all. We had just given him the tour of the school, right? And it was a pretty shitty tour at that. And we were all standing in the foyer waiting to get into this room that he'd never seen, right? He'd never been inside of, the courtyard. And then then the line started moving again, so we were in the courtyard. And after we'd all gathered and sat down, and the teacher or the principal and assistant principal had started giving their talk to everyone, it suddenly just struck me like, holy shit, I never made sure that kid actually came back from the bathroom and rejoined the group. I had no idea who it was, as despite all those icebreaker games we did, I had only learned a couple of names, and that kid, I guess, sorry man, forgettable face, I didn't recognize him, like I couldn't recognize him, pick him out from the crowd. Also, our class had joined like two others in the courtyard, sorry. So I couldn't look around and just find him. I had no real idea I had no actual way of knowing if that kid had ever made it back to our class and got into the courtyard. I don't know if he had been in the bathroom when we all went into the courtyard. I was actually one of the first people going into the courtyard, and then I went and held the door for everyone else, right? But it just never occurred to me, because I'm not a teacher and I don't lead these things. It never once occurred to me. It was a very real possibility that he got out of the bathroom after everyone else had gone to the courtyard. He would have come out and been all alone in the foyer. there were teachers sitting outside. They would have pointed them the right way. They would have been like, "Oh yeah, you're from that class. They just went to the courtyard. You just go ahead and join them," and all would have been fine, right? But still, like, there's gonna be that moment of panic, and it might not have been that. And it just makes me think, like, this is just not something you think about as the student, but as the teacher, it's so prominent. Again, this is 2 times in one day this kind of thing happened. If I was teaching every single day for a school year, how many times would I have situations like this? Right? It's not always going to be the first day of school, right? So the kids are going to eventually know where everything is and not have issues with it. Even in 10th grade, you get to a point where you know the school pretty well. You can navigate it yourself. But still, there's always certain things. Kid needs some supplies that only, one specific teacher has, and it's not their teacher. They don't have that teacher for any classes, so you got to tell them, it's room this, it's on the 3rd floor. You got to ask them for the key to go to this room, whatever. You got to ask for the elevator key or something. You got to ask to go to the basement or something where there's things. And the teacher has to walk you through those kinds of processes and make sure that you get back to the classroom, right? If they send you on errands, they have to. That's the kind of thing. Imagine if I was a teacher during a regular school year and I sent a kid to hand in the attendance. That would have been a thing. That was a thing in elementary school. Actually, I mean, it was when I was in elementary school. It was a thing. I don't know. Maybe elementary school teachers do it online now as well, or digitally, because that's what our teachers did in junior high and high school. They do it all digitally. They go do their attendance on the computer, and then they send it to the office via that, and that may be the way everything's done now. But there, once upon a time, I'm sure you all have that memory. They would do the attendance on a piece of paper, and then they would go, "Who wants to take the attendance down to the office?" And someone would volunteer themselves as tribute and run down. And as the student, it's such a different feeling. As the student, it's like, cool, I get to skip 2 minutes of class while I walk to the office, and I'm also special because the teacher entrusted me. And then as the teacher now, I would just be like, holy fuck, did that kid ever come back from the office? Did he get eaten on the way there by wolves? Did he get lost? Did he just run off to go smoke crack in a hallway? Crazy how many things, all the mental juggling that people in positions of authority have to do. Really makes you appreciate them. Well, it makes me appreciate them anyways. I don't know about everyone else. So that was an interesting experience for me. And if that kid got lost and terrified, I'm sorry. Oh, what I was going to say is it was an insane thing for my brain to, when I realized that, because I was like, I had the exact same experience and there was no one there for me. So I would have, it's just a perspective thing. When I was in 7th grade, my first day, we all met, or we all went to it's the same thing, homeroom, but for us, homeroom was also one of our classes. In my case, in 7th grade, homeroom was the same as my humanities class. Mrs. Adair, awesome teacher, one of my favorites ever. But she took us all to the CTF room, which was it was 3 rooms combined. One of them was foods and sewing. One of them was digital. It was career. Well, okay, so CTF stands for Career Technology Foundations. So they would teach you things for, what it sounds like, career and technology. So the first room, the main room, was it was kind of the computer lab, but also where it was a general learning space and where you would learn about technology, things like Photoshop and photo editing, photography, how to use just Adobe, things in general. And there's the woodworking, construction, pottery, arts and crafts, the art room, basically. That was the other room. So we all met in the digital part of the CTF room. We gathered there, and they gave us kind of the same talk like I was talking about in the courtyard. Very similar situation. The difference was I got into the CTF room, sat down with everyone else, and I can't remember exactly what it was. Oh, I remember now. So it wasn't the bathroom, actually. But I absolutely would not have been able to find the bathroom on my own. We went, they gave us a talk, and we went back to our homeroom, and I brought my water bottle there. And, everyone, again, it was first day junior high school. I don't know how this is going to work. We got lockers and never had lockers before. We were carrying our backpacks with us, and they gave us locks and name tags or whatever. But I'm carrying my water bottle with me. We haven't gotten the lockers yet. So I have my backpack at my desk, and I have my water bottle out, and I'm drinking from it. And then we go to the CTF lab. I'm like, I might need this, so I take the water bottle with me. We go from the CTF room back to class, and I just remember, oh shit, I don't know where I left my water bottle in the CTF lab. And so I got asked the teacher if I can go back to the CTF lab to get my water bottle. I'm like, yeah, okay. I just left, right? I went from my classroom to CTF, from CTF to my classroom. And in the time, I sat down at my desk in the classroom, remembered I need to get my water bottle, got up and left the room to get the water bottle, completely forgot where the CTF lab was. It's insane to think about how big this school is, how big my high school is, Henry Wisewood, and all high schools, how big they are, how many students they accommodate, how many rooms, 3 floors. And yet I got lost in my junior high school, which was way bigger than any elementary school I'd ever been in. In its own way, it does technically have 3 floors, right? It's got the 2 main floors, and then the elementary wing is kind of like down a ramp, which might consider a floor. So it's big, right? Because it's elementary and junior high combined, but it's not huge. It's way smaller than the high school. And comparatively now, if I went back to Louis Riel or one of my old elementary schools, I would be like, they're like about the same size, not big. But at the time, it was like, this was all on the first floor, right? So this is ignoring the second floor. The second floor confused me probably all my time in junior high. I would go the wrong way all the time, right? I would like, which staircase am I supposed to? I go like use the bathroom, get a drink of water, and then I'd end up walking around the entire, because the second floor was just a loop with one hallway through the middle of it, so you could get ways a little bit faster. And I had like 4 staircases getting up to it. 3 maybe, yeah, 3 I guess. But I would just somehow end up taking the long way back to class every single time, completely by accident. It's like, what the fuck? Which direction did I turn? Is this the one with that poster or the mural on the wall? I can't remember. Is this the one with the staircase on the left or on the right? Do I turn? Am I going? I've just made 3 left turns just to go right. Not smart. But this was all just on the first floor, which admittedly is more confusing than just a single loop. But still, it's like the CTF room. It's like the biggest central building, or room, I should say, other than the gym, I suppose. I'm trying to even remember what the layout was like, because you go in at the front and the gym is right there. And then you go further into the school. You go left, down that hallway, and then you follow the hallway, you go right, left. And then on the right is my old homeroom, my old humanities classroom. And then you go further down the hallway to the left is the door to the CTF lab. It's not very complicated. It's like, but there's a second door. There's another way into the CTF lab, which is near the door to the office, right? There's this it's almost hidden. It's not a secret or anything, but no one ever uses it. So it feels like a secret to me, especially on the first day. So I was like, and I somehow kept coming across that hallway, that little doorway that leads to the office that I never go into when I actually am in the school. For my 3 years, I've used it a couple times when I was doing the Big Brothers Big Sisters program, which took place in the office, so I had to use that door more often. But other than that, I would never use it. But when I was looking for the CTF lab, I was completely lost, and somehow I just kept coming to that door, as opposed to the obvious giant double doors that were right there, and that's where the CTF lab actually was. Point is, I got totally lost, scared out of my mind, because, I can't find the CTF lab, and then once I finally do, I can hardly find my way back to my classroom. And I'm sure my teacher was, waiting for me to come back and was fully aware that I hadn't gotten back yet. But in that moment, that kid that I had sent to the bathroom could easily have been in the exact same situation. Like I said, there was teachers there who led the way, but maybe he wouldn't ask them, because I can assure you there was almost certainly teachers that I passed in the hallway when I was trying to find a CTF lab, and I did not ask them where the CTF lab was. Right? Who does? You're terrified of asking questions, sounding stupid. No one asks for directions in a school. It's horrific. So it's entirely possible that, and again, those teachers were sitting right outside the courtyard. And the courtyard was right by the bathroom, so he would have easily found it. But it very easily could have ended up in a very similar situation. And it's just funny to think about because, like I said, it's a very similar situation that I had, got separated from the herd, and now I was in the teacher's position and not the students. Very interesting thing to think about. It's been really tedious, I'm sure, to listen to all this and get through it, but hopefully it's at least a little relatable, and parts of it were actually had some substance. So, skip around, I guess, find what's actually interesting to listen to. Those are my some shared experience, I guess. But what I was saying, I was going to get back to, and now I will, the COVID measures that our school is taking. Now, like I said, I understand perfectly why we need to take measures against spreading the coronavirus, and I want to follow those completely to a T, as long as that means staying in school and not getting kicked out. But there's one thing that was going to be a huge hassle, which was the one-way hallway situation. So the first floor of the building was just a simple keep right rule, right? So you can go either way. The hallways are two-way, but you just have to stay on the right side. Okay? And if you want to go back to my, I think, episode 3 talk about public transit, and then that actually led to school as well, I'm very clear on this. Staying to the right, it's not fucking rocket science. It's not a newfangled idea. All right? This is not experimental theoretical physics. This is very well-established social etiquette. When you're going anywhere and there's crowds, you stay to the right, no matter what that means. Unless, going right puts you in the middle of the street, you stay on the right. The people coming the other way, the oncoming traffic, also stays on the right. Guess what? It's going to be your left, okay? That's how you avoid hitting people. I don't know. In Japan and Britain, maybe they go to I don't know if they walk on the left. That'd be an interesting thing. I guess you could look that up. But in civilized countries, we walk on the right. We drive on the right. We drive on the right, walk on the right. Okay? So just stick to that. Like I said, I've been following it. It's actually the same with washing my hands. I am in some ways germophobic. I don't know. But I wash my hands impulsively. I wash my hands after every single thing I ever do. It's honestly, it's surreal and insane to me to have people asking me now, like, after I, do something, after I get back from somewhere, and they ask me, did you wash your hands? Hey, make sure you wash your hands before you eat or whatever. I'm like, dude, I've been washing my hands since 2010 after every single thing I do. I'm not going to stop now that we have a global pandemic. That's redundant, but anyways. But yeah, I guess I just have to remind myself, normal people don't wash their hands after every single thing they do. That's crazy. Like, I just can't help it. I just can't see a world where I don't. I'll wash my hands, I'll go into the bathroom, not use the bathroom, but I'll go into the bathroom. Actually, it doesn't seem weird, right? If you go and flush the toilet and then you wash your hands for that, because surely that's disgusting. But I guess it does seem a little wasteful. I use so much soap. I use so much hand soap. Probably waste a bunch of water, but yeah, like I say, at the end of the day, look at the conditions we're living in now with this virus. Here's the thing. The one upside to washing my hands as impulsively as I do, because health benefit wise, it can't be that big of a difference that I'm making, because like I said, everyone washes. You of course wash your hands after the big stuff. You just go like digging in the mud, you take a shit, you take a piss, you wash your hands. You wash your hands before you eat, wash your hands, whatever. But for all the little things that I wash my hands for, whenever I touch anything, whenever I do anything remotely that might be remotely dirty, I'll wash my hands. Even if I'm not going to eat. At the end of the day, probably not a huge benefit health-wise. It's probably just a little wasteful of water and soap. But the one thing that will come of the one good thing, I never forget to wash my hands, and no one will ever have to ask me if I've washed my hands. Well, guess what? Here we are, and people are asking me if I've washed my hands. Specifically William. No, but, that's... Long story short, I've washed my hands. Whatever in any situation you see me, whenever you see me, I've washed my hands no matter what. Just assume I've washed my hands. Not an issue for me. So similar thing with this. Similar thing with the school. Walking on the right side. I've been walking on the right side of the road since 6th fucking grade. I've been telling everyone else to do it. You do not need to tell me even for a second to walk on the right side. I say road, but in this case I mean school hallway. So I am on top of that shit. I am all for it. Yes, please get people to walk on the fucking right, correct and right direction, side of the road, side of the hallway. The collisions, the stampede, the herds. I'm sick of it. I'm so glad that the school's fixing that. But where's the problem? Well, that's the first floor. The second and third floors have been made one way, which I kind of talked about. But yeah, so they were going to make, first of all, the staircases. They were going to have, we have 3 staircases in the school. They were going to make the middle one go up the second and third floors, and the 2 on the sides go down. So obviously there's some things that just can't be helped, right? If you're going to make one-way staircases and it's an odd number of staircases, what are you going to do? There's not going to be the same number of up and down. But still, you can't just ignore the problem. You're going to have way more traffic going up than you are going down, which I'm sure they kind of tried to figure out. Like, you know, there's more stuff on the bottom floor. There's like the gym and the music room and all that stuff. And the second and third floor is just some classrooms. So I guess they assume there's going to be more people coming down at any given point than going up, which I guess I can see the logic of that. But not really, not by much. So what goes up must come down. So at the end of the day, it's going to be the same amount of people. I guess what the thinking is at the end of the day, right? Everyone's got to go to the first floor to get out, no matter what. That said, at the start of the school day, just as many people who go down are going to be going up. I don't know. Look, like I said, I know they tried, and I know that it's impossible to do it with an odd number of staircases. But that was the first problem. But it gets way worse than that, because once you go up the up staircase, the school layout, the second and third floor is very simple. Like I said, the first floor got all kinds of shit going on, but it's all 2-directional, so it's pretty much the same as usual, right? Business as usual. But when you're on the second or third floor, it's basically it's a single hallway. It doesn't loop around, right? Not like Louis Riel. So you go from one end to the other, and it's just a line of classrooms. It's very simple. And now you go up the staircase in the middle, you go on the second or third floor, and you come out the doors, and you can go right or you can go left to the ends of the hallways, which end with staircases that go down. And that's the only way you can go. You go up to the second floor. If you go right, you can only go right. It's one way. You can go right until you get to your classroom, or you can go left from the middle until you get to your classroom. Or you go same thing on the third floor. You start in the middle, and your classroom is wherever. You go right until you get classroom. You go left from the middle until you get to your classroom. The problem is, of course, with changing floors, because the way the floors are done is not like, well, it's not arbitrary, right? It's a good thing normally, but the way it's done is the first floor has English and social studies. Second floor is mainly the science wing. It's got a computer lab, it's got the foods room and the art area, but mainly science classrooms. Third floor mainly, and also Spanish on the second floor. Third floor is mainly math rooms. Okay. I think there is a science room, but it's mainly math. So third floor hallway math. So my point is, so in any given year, you got to take all those classes. That's the thing about splitting it up. So it ends up sending you to different floors throughout your day by necessity. I can't imagine a single person who's going to spend their entire school day on only one floor. What that means is you're going to have to be using these one-way hallways and staircases a lot, and that sucks. See, going up from the middle, because clearly I can see the thought process that they went through, right? They tried to make it work as well as they could. So going up from the middle and going one way out, left or right from middle, works. That works just fine to get where you want to go. Like I said, if you start from the first floor on the going up staircase, on the upstairs staircase, you can get anywhere you need to go because you just choose the direction. If you choose the wrong, first of all, there's going to be an inconvenience. Especially, I feel so bad for the grade 10s who don't even know the layout of the school yet. They're gonna go the wrong way because they weren't reading the numbers of the doors or whatever, because it's not equal. On the second floor, like when you come up in the middle, on the left side of the hallway, it's like room 210, and like on the left side it's like on the right side it's like 212, and on the left side it's only 207. So they're not equal. It's not going like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's like they skip way ahead because of the foods room, I think, it takes up extra space. So they're gonna make mistakes. I sure as hell know I did, and then they're gonna go the wrong way, go right when they're supposed to go left, and then they can't turn around because it's one way. What are they gonna do? They're gonna go all the way to the end of the hallway, go down the stairs, and then come all the way back up again. Huge pain in the ass. But you learn. That's the whole point, is you learn the layout. So I can live with that. The thing that gets me is where it's broken by necessity, where you're forced to go on a super long wild goose chase to get to your classroom, and there's just no way to avoid it. And that is the case. Here's the big issue. The most inconvenient thing you can do is if you have a class on the third floor, wherever it is, and you finish that class, your next class on the second floor, you cannot just go from third to second floor. Like I said, the up hallway going from bottom to top of the school works just fine. You can go to the second floor if you need to, but if not, you keep going up the staircase, you go to the third floor, and then you go to wherever your classroom is. But going down doesn't work because of the one-way thing. You can only go down from up. You can't go up from down easily. So if you're on the third floor, you can't go down one. What I'm saying is you can't go down one. That's what I meant to say. You can go from the up staircase, you can go up to the second floor, or you can go up 2 flights to the third floor. But if you're on the third floor, you can't go down to the second. You have to go all the way down to first. Okay, it's like a video game. You get knocked off from the top, you can't just catch yourself. It's like getting over it. Once you get knocked off from where you're at, if you're not careful, you go tumbling all the way back down to the start. No fucking checkpoints. So, yeah, if you have a class on the third floor and your next class on the second floor, you have to go to the end of the hallway, whichever direction it is, go down to the first floor, then go back to the middle of the school to get to the on the first floor to the up hallway, up staircase. For fuck's sake, I gotta get that right. You gotta go through the school to the middle of the school for the upstairs, and you go up the stairs to the second floor, then you got to go down the hallway again to wherever your class is. It's a huge hassle. It's got to take at least 3 times longer than just going down the staircase to your class, because if you go down the staircase to the second floor, the arrows are pointing from the downstairs hallway towards you, so you can't go because it's one way. Huge pain in the ass. Going to be a nightmare. But they fixed that. I think. So what I've heard is that CBE gave in. I guess they realized, we didn't really plan this super well. So people were getting too confused. Like, it was a huge pain when we were giving the tours even. We were giving the tours, and it's like, how do we show them? How do we show, giving a tour, and how do we show them this hallway, this entire hallway? Because we go up to the second floor, we go to the right. It's like, well, now we can only go down. There's no way to show them the other half of the school because you can only go one direction. We did a lot of walking on that tour. We was like, so let's go down and then all the way back up again, and then the other way, and then all the way back up to the third floor. Massive pain in the ass. But actually being in class would be way worse. So I'm sure CB just kind of realized this is not going to work out well for people. So they gave in, and what I've heard is they made the staircases 2-way. And that sounds nice, but what I didn't hear is did they make the hallways 2-way, because I can't see how it would work with having the staircases be 2-way, but the hallways not, right? Because if you can go up the side, the left and right staircases, but you can't go in that hallway that way, then I don't see what good that does. The only useful thing would be for the middle hallway to be up or down. I think what would make more sense is if the staircases remain one way, but the hallways become 2-way, because it's not hard to just keep to the right. I can understand where the issue is probably because if you need to go to your classroom is on the left side of the hall and you're walking on the right, that could be an issue, but not a huge one. We also don't have lockers, so we have to lug around our shit all day, and our backpacks are so heavy because, God, you have so many heavy textbooks in high school, right? It's going to be a huge pain in the ass, but especially in the winter when you got your heavy, thick winter coat. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'll figure it out. I might just bring a suitcase to school. But, yeah, it's just one of the things. There's all kinds of things that are having to be done. And I think it would make more sense if you just wait until there's a break in the, clearing in the stream of people, and you just go into your class. Or if you gotta brush past some people, I mean, do what you gotta do. There's hand sanitizer at every classroom, which is great. They get you to wipe down the tables and chairs every time you go into the class, if there was a class before, which is great. And you're all wearing masks, so I think it would be a lot more helpful, because then you can go, even if you can only go down the staircases on the left and right. Like I said, same scenario, you're on the 3rd floor. You still have to go all the way to the end of the hallway just to go down. But then you go down to the 2nd floor, and then if it's two-way, then you can now go back in and go to your class wherever it may be. So that's going to be way more helpful than changing the staircases. So I don't really know. I don't know if that change is going to help anyone, but at least whatever. At least they're still taking things into account, right? Like, the other thing is band. Okay, so we got band. I'm in band right now. I'm taking band classes. I'm taking instrumental music. Can't play our instruments. You can't play wind instruments. Okay, percussionists can play, drummers can play, pianists can play, and string bass can play, but no wind instruments. Which again makes sense, because you're blowing air and spittle into the everywhere. Finkbeiner disagrees. Our band director disagrees, and he actually has a pretty good argument for it. So, air that you're breathing out into the world, which is filled with spit, right? Because the air itself is not an issue. Carbon dioxide, which is, mainly what we breathe out, is not an issue. And the other thing is, you just push around the air in the atmosphere. That's also not an issue. The issue is the tiny droplets of spit that you're breathing out that could contain the virus, right? Am I wrong in saying that? Airborne still just means water, but water in the air. I'm pretty sure. I think so, because it's not like, again, it's not like the virus lives on CO2. That would be weird. So it's the spit that's an issue, and when you play an instrument, like if you've ever played any wind instrument, the spit is not going out into the air. It's all in the instrument. That we're all too acutely aware of that fact. So, Finkbeiner's been talking about it. He said that the CBE is revisiting it, or I guess Alberta is revisiting it at the end of the month, whether or not students can play their instruments. And I don't know. I'm hoping they come to a good decision, whatever that may be. My thinking was I don't see why you couldn't have, say, one of every instrument play at a time, and all the other kids just stand off to the side, because then you can properly distance. There's enough space. I mean, a full band of kids is not going to have enough room to safely distance themselves while they play. I get that. And they won't let us play outside. That's the other thing. They won't let us play our instruments outside. But, just a few kids playing their instruments while other kids sit and listen. Because that was the other thing, is he was talking about, so currently alternative is we're doing theory and written work, and we're listening to other people play and getting the idea. And then we practice at home. And that's great and all. And I don't see any problem with practicing at home, because he said you can do online stuff. We can even do private lessons with our band director, send him videos of how we're playing. He gives us feedback, and that's all great. Absolutely, I appreciate that a lot. But for me, the huge thing about band classes, I can play an instrument at home, as much as I want. I go on YouTube, I learn how to play saxophone. I already know how to play piano. I have no issue with that. It's the cool thing, because of course we're not going to be having band concerts, and I don't expect to be having band concerts until way far in the future if things get way better. So the cool thing to me about band is, if you can't have concerts, is hearing all the instruments play at once, right? That sounds way cooler than the part you get. I mean, if you got a trumpet or a clarinet and occasionally a saxophone, you could have some cool melodies, but I feel bad for the French horns, the tubas, the trombones and shit like that are just, sitting there playing their one long whole note per measure. They're not going to have fun with that. I feel terrible. And even, like I said, in a lot of cases, saxophones, if I get a second part, or a third part or whatever, if I don't get first, I may very well just be playing harmonies or counter melodies that just don't sound the same without all the other instruments playing. It doesn't sound impressive, and I can't really get the feel for it. I don't doubt the band director's ability to teach us, right, from listening to other people play and be like, you see this right here, this is where I need the flutes to sound like this because of how all the other instruments are playing. Like, I get that. But for me, when I'm practicing on my own, or not practicing on my own, when I'm playing in the band, that's where I get to hear the progress that we've made, you know? Like, I can play and practice and really hard and get really good and be like, I can play this great. It still doesn't sound like anything. I want to hear all the other instruments playing. So that's the big thing for me for band. And I'm sure I'm not the only one, because that's kind of the point. So I think it would be absolutely worth it just to have, you know, like I said, one of each instrument play or something. Or just the one instrument that has the melody, one instrument has the counter melody, one instrument has a harmony, one instrument that's got the bass line. You know, like 5 instruments playing at a time, and then just have everyone listen to it and just be like, doing pretty good. Then the next set of instruments comes up, right? Then the instruments that very few people play, like French horn and stuff and trombone, they would get more playtime, and that's fine. I guess the issue with that would be, I mean, you'd have to have, I guess you could have first, second, third clarinets and trumpets and whatever, if they have multiple parts, you know, so you'd have 3 clarinets up, but then only 1 trombone, 1 tuba, because, man, it would take a really long time to get through. But still, again, it's, at least you're playing something, right? It's better than just sitting with your hands under your ass, you know, twiddling your thumbs all day, or, you know, all lesson. Even if you only get through half the kids in the class one day, then the next day you just do the next half. I don't know. I hope we figure something out. I hope things go well. I did not think I was going to be spending this entire episode talking about school, much less 90% of the episode talking about telling one kid he could go to the bathroom. I have other topics, but I guess I'll get to them next week. That said, incidentally, I guess all this bathroom talk has been influencing me because I gotta really take a shit right now. Ain't that a bitch?